Welcome back to BLOCKTV. This is Trader's Take, where we dive into the technical charts to really see what's going on under the hood of the crypto market. And today, as always, we are joined by our very own technical analyst, the fortune teller, hopefully the fortune maker, and the man with the wicked hangover who could not join us yesterday from New Year's, Joe Saz.
Hello. I'm just sick. Okay, just regular sick.
Whatever you gotta tell the boss.
Yeah. So well, man, Yona, this has been a rough market over the past number of minutes. We've just jumped from what was a reasonably safe territory and a pretty convincing rejection of definitive $6,000 Bitcoin here in the near future. We've already popped back down from like the 7100s, 71 near 7150 range, all the way down to the 7088. Buyers are starting to stack. You know, this is a little bit static around here. Anything below 70, 75. So pretty much anything this 90 pack and lower is static support. So basically, what I'm saying is, in order for us to take another leg down, we need some serious sellers to be fearfully selling Bitcoin. So the book is stacked for the bulls right now. There's some pretty thin liquidity here on the sell side, so this candle can pretty much easily get swept right back up. But the fact that that's not happening means that we don't really have proactive bulls in the market. So we could be, we could be dipping our toes back into 6,000 territory really soon. This is BTC USD 15-minute chart. Just an extra look here. Let's just see how long ago we broke this. Just a number of days ago, December 27th. So we're pretty much in a double bottom space if we manage to bounce. If we don't manage to bounce, then this is definitely going to send us down, be a new local low, and probably going to be what sets us up for a revisit to the 6,000s. And that's where we cross our fingers, Yona, as a wannabe Bitcoin bull, at least on a short to midterm scale. If we don't hold the mid 6,000s, or presumably if we don't make a lower low or don't even come close, I like what Socrates said. Socrates said that this could be a setup for a bounce at around 6,600, and that would be a very convincing bottom. I'm pretty much in agreement with that. That if we can bounce out of this region in the lower 6Ks, if we do happen to have one more little run of fearful sellers, that would be okay with me, but I really don't want to deal with that. I just want us to clean our act up. I want Bitcoin to consolidate, and I want buyers to, start stepping up. But it really seems like we don't have that kind of action going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Socrates might have said that, but I personally listened to Plato, who always and famously said, when Bitcoin hits 6,999, short the hell of that position and stay on to that and get out of there at 6.5.
Oh man, so you're going what, 35x at 69.99?
Once we hit that 699, I'm going to short that to the ground. Then I'll ride that wave down to 65 and call it a day.
Till there's blood in the streets. Yeah, that might be a good trade. I gotta say, Yona. So I actually drew something here that was kind of one of my specialties. Let me get rid of this comparison here. This is my acceleration of trend lines. We've had an acceleration within this. All right. So we have a long-standing trend line here, and we have an acceleration within it. Now that acceleration accelerated, and then we've broken that accelerated trend line, fallen back to the initial acceleration, and now we've broken that. And I do believe that we're headed back to this trend line. Now the question is, do we do it at 8,200? Do we go sideways and grind it all the way to 76? I'm still putting that $8,200 target on the table, but I really need some bulls to wake up, because this is not looking good for my $8,200 Bitcoin case. Right now, 6,600 is looking to be more likely of a next step than a 8,200. And I was really hoping that we would start climbing, and that this overhead resistance would be a thing of the past. This horizontal line here has really given us a lot of drama trying to break through it.
What's the price on that overhead resistance?
76 range, 75.83. Just ballpark in 7,600. It seems to be where bears are putting up a very strong fight. I mean, we see it here in the charts all the time. I mean, every time bulls really try to get us a breakout, the bears step in and just crush hopes and dreams. So again, that is still consistent with my market transition theory, but I'm not happy that we still have so many bears that are really trying to dump their bags. I mean, in order for the market to finish and complete its transition, we need those fearful sellers to stop selling, or we need them to finish selling. Either they need to dump their bags completely, or they need to they just need to say, all right, well, maybe now's the time to accumulate again, and bam, we're back into more buyers than sellers bull market. And unfortunately, it's been really hard for us to get that psychology into the bear's head that Bitcoin is in a consolidation range, and that's actually bullish. I don't really, I still see a kind of a mix of bull porn, bear porn flipping through Twitter. I don't think the tether thing's as negative for Bitcoin right now as it otherwise has been or could be, more likely in the future. So I really think that the halving should start taking over from here pretty soon. Again, I have said a number of times that January could be, and historically has been a bad month a few times. So we could have just some stupid stuff like that going on. A little bit of a turbulence on takeoff here, but I'm really not like I don't really want us to go much lower than into the six. I don't want to go into the 6,000. Definitely don't want to go lower than 6,850. And if we bottom out at 6,600, I'll be sweating, but I'll be okay. If that happens, as a bull, like I want us to have the cleanest entry into a bull market as possible. So let's just hope that right now it looks like we're headed straight into the $6,000 territory where you're shorting range, and I'm hoping that we don't have to deal with a whole another round of shorting. I just want to get prepared for all cannons long and stay that way.
Mm-hmm. At what point do all these bears kind of they're offloading onto the market and they're getting rid of their bags? At what point do all those bears kind of give all their Bitcoin to the bulls? Now there's only bulls left holding Bitcoin.
So when there's only bulls left holding Bitcoin, there's also bulls left buying Bitcoin. When sellers pull that much liquidity, then the price rises up pretty quickly. And at what point does that happen? Quite simply, that happened for quite some time right over here. This is what it looks like when sellers are scared and they're pulling orders. And then you have a couple pullbacks. You have a couple areas where they have where sellers get convinced that price can't go any higher, and then they compete to sell. And that's when you see, in the midst of all this massive parabolic uptrend, you see these 6 or so percent moves, maybe even some double digits, 7%, 5%, nothing too crazy, I guess, in that run. But up here we do see some more action, 13%, near 10%. So this is basically what it looks like when typically in Bitcoin, the upside activity is irrational. Manipulation or aside, the buying activity with an asset like Bitcoin is very irrational when it comes to FOMO. Now we really haven't done that. And there was this one saying, I can't quote it exactly, so I can't bring it up, but basically something along the lines of that bull markets or bear, it takes 3 times longer or something to create a bull market than it does to destroy one or something like that. And I was thinking, like, that's really the opposite in Bitcoin, and you could clearly see it right here. I mean, we started a bull market pretty much on that breakout, and it lasted, a number of bars here, and our bear market's been drawn out as heck, and we have consolidation phases all up through this, and obviously this is a humongous, just curveball, this entire space right here. But we do have a lot of consolidation, and again, this is starting to feel like, with these very small intraday moves. Now, this is the question I've been asking myself. This is starting to feel like breakdown territory, all right? Upside, downside, we don't know yet. But is it this phase right here where we're having tiny intraday moves and consolidating before a massive breakdown? Or are we doing this, where we're consolidating and, we're kind of dilly-dallying and just trying to find our way into the next bull run? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think this was a strong rejection. We had a strong rejection here, a good bit of volume in both of those. But again, I still think Bitcoin needs something, and I think the halving it But it's just a matter of when that halving starts, getting like it's not priced in my opinion. And my question would be, when do people start to want that to be priced in, and that's going to really that's going to be the gasoline that we need to fuel this fire.
Well, with the halving only 5 months away or slightly more, it should be happening any time now. Now, oftentimes the price of Ethereum is often, it's kind of handcuffed to the price of Bitcoin. What is Ethereum doing right now?
So we're looking at Ethereum here on the daily, flipping down to the daily. Let me, draw this up for a little bit of effect. Let's see if this head and shoulders is even valid. I mean, this was like really weird angled. If anything, this would be a bullish situation, but we've already broken back down. This is tough to say. All right, so what you said earlier, if Ethereum is any indication of the future of Bitcoin, then we're headed much lower. Because Bitcoin's low this is the equivalent of Bitcoin's 3,100 and change. Now, Bitcoin is obviously nowhere near that. We're still 100% up from that. So 100% up from this would be 160. Bitcoin is actually, we're more than 100% up. So Bitcoin's probably round about here, still consolidating. And maybe this dip here is kind of what we experienced. So if Ethereum is any indication of what Bitcoin has coming, then we're looking at a spill. I mean, this is crazy. All our moving averages are trending down, even the 50, especially violently moving down. The 200, it's going to be tough to break this 200 now. And again, Bitcoin has that same thing going on now. We're starting to curve and start the curve down. So back to Ethereum, if it is an indication of the future of Bitcoin, which I don't believe it to be, because of Bitcoin dominance eating up some of that Ethereum dominance, this is what I think makes the difference between why Bitcoin doesn't follow alts and why alts follow Bitcoin. So anyways, we're definitely, Ethereum is losing dominance against Bitcoin. It's losing value against Bitcoin. So I'm not too concerned that Ethereum is going to be a front runner for Bitcoin. If it is, then that's an anomaly or some sort of pattern that we'll have to dissect and analyze. But for now, I don't think that Bitcoin is going to be visiting its, I've pretty much, for the most part, taken $4,500 off the table. And that's pretty much where Ethereum is probably hanging out right now. The equivalent of Bitcoin's 4,000 to 4,500.
Well, so while they're taking money off the table, let's switch over to XRP, which recently made headlines by releasing onto the market 1 billion with a BXRP. Some of that potentially or allegedly going to their founder. What effect has it had on the actual price and the market with that offloading of liquidity?
Now, so XRP, they have a rule that basically they're out of the 100 billion tokens that were pre-mined, every month there is a 1 billion token released from escrow. Now, keep in mind that 100 billion were created, 20 billion went to founders, 80 billion went to Ripple Labs. And so Ripple Labs is in charge essentially of the distribution of this wealth, which is why I regularly say that this is a centralized asset. So on the news of apparently, at the beginning of every month, the escrow unlock isn't really something that does or should scare people. It's stupid as shit. I mean, it's really dumb to me that the purpose of this it's not an airdrop, but let's just call it this escrow process. The purpose of it is for Ripple Labs to own less and less Ripple in time. But they keep locking the majority of that back up. And in many cases, they'll even lock the full 1 billion tokens back in. Now, if they're distributing that amongst founders, then that is dangerous to me. That's really, really weird. That's pretty much sounds like an exit scam, and which I believe Ripple is a scam. I don't know if it's going to be an exit scam, because I think that they are trying to create a product that'll work with regulators, and they are trying to build infrastructure on top of existing banking architecture using cryptocurrency, centralized cryptocurrency, of course. Now, again, I think that if that's what's going on, then I think Ripple's on it definitely looking and sounding a little bit more like an exit scam, and probably putting them in potentially in hot water for this case that they have in court, alleging that Ripple is a security. I believe there's the plaintiffs are the people. I don't think this is an SEC lawsuit or anything like that yet. But someone out there is alleging that XRP is a security, and if they're basically pulling money from escrow to line their pockets, I'm pretty sure that's not going to make their case any easier to argue.
For sure, definitely not going to look good in the eyes of regulators. But what does look good in the eyes of our viewers is you, Joe Saz, seeing you and hearing your wonderful analysis on crypto markets. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining us. And for all our viewers at home, if you want more on blockchain, crypto, and much more, check us out at blocktv.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.